to
There we go.
tonight at 7:30.
Yeah. I have a problem.
Probably say the same about me.
Yeah, I'll call the workshop meeting of the Harlem Township Zoning Commission to order. Would you call the roll, please?
Mike Kavler,
Here.
Tony Manson. Here. Tom Need is not here. Brittany, we were just discussing this, Hopebridge or Hopbridge?
It's actually Hopprick,
Hopbridge. Okay, Brittany Hopbridge.
but I'm not here.
Not too
Present.
picky.
I'm not too picky about it.
Louis Greenwell.
Here.
And Alan Zako is also not here.
Okay, let's see.
John,
Why won't it log me in? Try that again.
How does it?
I don't have to. Trying to make sure it would work for me. Join meeting here. Trying. Waiting for host to start the meeting. Is that what you got? Which one? Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Are there still two links out there? I thought that you had said it so there was just one.
no, you can't if it's called something different, so like your zoning commission meetings are one, and then the other one says workshop, since you have different names, you have to have different logins. So you have to go to the one that says workshop, so it'll be on the calendar and then in the. That'll be the link. Take one. Or wherever we like to see them.
There, tried this one.
What are we doing?
Job meeting.
Go to. Calendar.
It's got to work in both places. I mean,
You can try that.
It does.
I was logging in. I thought she had set it up so there was just one option, but leave and join.
I think you still were trying to get into the other meeting.
I'm going to give up. I'll try it later so we can get going here. The first order of business, we're going to recess the regular meeting and we will resume the meeting after we finish the discussion with hearing on HTCC 2410, Article 36, mixed service business. We had recessed it to tonight and starting it at 7:30. So meeting's recessed and we'll call the hearing out of recess. Would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mike Kavler,
Here.
Jenny Manson.
Here.
Tom Need not here. Brittany Hopbridge,
Here.
Louis Greenwell,
Here.
and Alan Zako.
Okay, so our hearing is back in session. We have no additional members of the public present tonight. But the purpose of the reason that we recessed is in order to go back and check on the requested changes that were made to determine that in fact they had all been included in the final document before we would take action. Megan, at this point, I'll ask you then to just kind of walk us through those quickly.
Yep. So the first change was on page, I gave the pages numbers now. So the first one was on page 3604. I just took out the personal use language in the summary of Transect Districts box. The next change was on page 3608. Under letter E. This is where I added the language saying right here. This standard shall also apply to hotels and motels. It's after the first sentence. And then same page, letter G, I added in the 2 sentences from the Delco RPC's recommendations. It starts with, in no event shall any person interfere with any existing tile or surface drainage channel unless it is determined that such tile or channel can be removed or relocated without interfering with the drainage on adjacent property. All drainage conditions must adhere to and be approved by the Delaware County Soil and Water Conservation District. Then the next change was on page 3611.
Just replace the graphics, is that what you're talking about?
On 3611, yes.
And you know, there's on these, it says 36,011.
Oh, yes, I do see
It
that.
started with 10.
Hmm. Right.
It keeps going that way.
Then the next change was on the next page, 3612. I just replaced the image for a higher quality, more crisp looking one for the natural plant community. The next one was on the next page, 13. This is where we have the specifications for the mixed use building height and then the single use building height. So the maximum mixed use building height is 45 feet. And then the maximum single use building height is 35. And then,
So can a 3-story building be 35 feet?
No,
Where do we define? the
it's
maximum?
when it's in the construction, you'll never get it. By the time you do 2 stories and a roof, you can't get it.
and then just the last change we made, we removed the definitions at the end since they were all the same to what Mike sent us.
Are flat, sorry, going back to the last one, are flat roofed buildings allowed
No,
in the, okay, before I go look through this whole
and when you
thing.
look through our requirements on the mixed use apartments and stuff,
They all require some.
they all
pitched roof
require a
of some
pitch.
sort.
Okay,
For mixed use, but what about for single use?
Well, the MU area. So what these areas, these mixed use areas, but yes, for residential, they have to have pitch too.
Question for the zoning commission. At this point, have we got all the changes that we needed? And what's the pleasure with regard to Article 36?
Did look like they did the changes that we requested or explained why the changes were necessary. So in as much as application HTZC 2410 conforms to the intent of the Harlem Township Comprehensive Plan and appears to meet all applicable aspects of the Harlem Township zoning resolution, I move that Harlem Township Zoning Commission recommend to the Harlem Township Board of Trustees that said application be approved.
Is there a second?
Also,
And moved by Joni, seconded by Louis. To recommend to the trustees approval of application HTZC 2410, Article 36, mixed service business residential, with the changes that are in the document that we have received this evening. So this will be the document that will go forward to the trustees.
I would like to request that the page numbers be
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
I will do that.
changed from 36,000 to.
Okay. Yeah, just eliminate the zero. Once you get to
Yep.
page 10, it should be 3610 and et cetera going forward.
And since you're editing on that same, on 3608, you know, when you added text for stormwater and drainage, we ended up losing the space between that bullet and H.
Yep, just added that in.
No change, just a
Hey.
changing in the format,
Just changed to the spacing of the text,
the spacing, yeah.
spacing of the paragraph. Yeah. No change to any words.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Appreciate you guys doing it so quickly.
Very good. Since there's no further discussion, then would you do a roll call vote, please?
Mike Kavler,
Aye.
Aye.
Tom Need, Brittany Hopper,
Hi.
Louis Greenwell,
Aye.
Alan Zago.
Since we only have the 4 members present, that's all it takes. We have a majority. If the motion is passed, we will recommend approval to the trustees. Okay, with that, like a motion to adjourn the hearing.
Make a motion to adjourn hearing HTZC 2410. Second.
And seconded by Brittany. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned and we will go back into our workshop meeting. We said we'd do that by 1:45 and we made it by 7:42. Hey, how about that?
Did we approve all the other articles last time?
Yes.
Okay.
It was glorious.
I'm trying. I'm trying to sort through all my papers. I'm so disorganized. So I just want to double check.
We're on a roll.
All right.
Okay.
That's great.
Yes.
Good job.
Considering we stayed here till after 10, yeah.
Oh, boy. I don't know. I was pretty sick. I would have rather be here than where I was.
I'm sorry to hear you were sick.
Well, since I didn't prepare a written agenda, the agenda
Yeah,
is
sign above Louis.
simple for tonight.
Oh, okay.
The hearing, once we have completed that, and then I'm expecting Scott to be here so that we can start some discussion related to that. But Jim and Holly have been working on some additional changes and creation of new overlay districts, which they have provided us a copy of here. This is not a new overlay district, but this is a map to be not quite sure that I understood the message.
The message is that we already have the wording on the overlay. And under the ORC, we can include this area butting up to it. So all we're doing is adding an area to the existing industrial overlay.
Why?
That area is not, we haven't done anything with it. So those property owners, like majority of those property owners, when we were doing it and we were in the middle of it, had requested to be included, and we looked at it and thought, and saw no reason not to. So we brought the one you just did, butts up to them from the west, yeah, on the west side, and then the industrial overlay is on the east side. So this area in the middle, like I said, would be conducive to the industrial overlay
Why is it more conducive to the industrial versus the one we just did?
because of what's going on up there.
What is going on up there? I don't know what's going on.
Oh, okay. Well, number one, Trenton Township put an industrial overlay. In fact, they're in the process of doing industrial overlay right up to us.
Okay.
And then, of course, Sunbury did the annexation and did that all industrial. And are you aware of that?
No.
Okay, so Sunbury annexed clear down almost to Trenton Road on the west side of 605.
Okay.
So that whole area is going industrial. That's why we just did this mixed use overlay to augment what Sunbury is doing. In other words, we're going to do the little shops and some residential and stuff. And we're also, it has nothing to do with the zoning, but we're also in discussions with Galena as far as using Galena as a economic partner in that area on the west side of 605, not this area. So that whole area from 3 years ago to now has really changed.
So when I don't know what their industrial looks like. Like when we say industrial, I think like factories, warehouses, like
We
is
don't-
that,
Yeah, we don't do the factories. Sunbury's they call it light industrial, but basically it probably includes everything but a steel mill.
okay,
That is, they can put, in other words, they could assemble cars,
okay,
that type of thing. That's how heavy theirs gets. Ours doesn't.
okay. I
Uh,
don't even remember what ours does, to be honest with you. God, I'm not familiar enough with them.
Well, this
Like-
is the current overlay districts that we have approved, A and B. There is no C.
No, you're,
No, there
you're
is.
in the.
You're on the wrong one.
We need, it's Article 35 that we approved. So go to Article 35.
We don't have a.
Okay, I thought you said it was in Article 34. County Line Road overlay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it is, yeah, I should have looked at the title and I would have recognized it was different.
Ashley, could you make a note to print me an Article 35?
It's in Article 35. Okay, let's see now. Overlay,
By the way, Brittany, in
sub
case you
area
didn't know it,
C.
Amazon announced a new data center on the Sunbury site.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in the
I
newspaper.
mean, I get that the other area, other areas around there are allowing things like that, but I'm just thinking, do
yeah,
we,
county
is
wanted
that
to-
what the kind of thing that we want to allow?
We're just finishing off that small section.
But does having that in this industrial versus maybe the mixed use residential, does that open us up
Well,
to?
somebody came in with we've said that some things will change. I mean, what we do, it's like buying a computer and the next day, it's different.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is an overlay. You can still do all your residential, that previous residential. There's nothing to say that if somebody's using that mixed use across Trenton Road up there, that they butt up against this and they say, yeah, we would like another 100 acres or whatever the property owner applies. We have the mixed use already written. We can put an overlay on an overlay. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can change that. We can put a mixed use on this. But on the other hand, if they're coming from the other direction or coming down on us, we have this protection already here so that ours is lighter. Ours is less industrial, so to speak. It is industrial, but it's light industrial.
Well, shouldn't this map be revised then?
Is this
so
the
that
only,
it
is
would
this the only
reflect the new
change to
area?
Article 35 that you're
After-
proposing?
After it's a.
When it gets
This is
done,
where,
then you'll
this is where
combine.
that I got confused because in one instance, you say we don't have to make any change except in the map. But this is a part of Article 35. The map.
Yeah, we're
is.
just adding this and adding it to the map, yes.
So can you,
This is all just for discussion. This is all preliminary, just this,
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is that we will have to amend this.
yes.
And go through that formal process.
We will, oh, no, you will have to advertise it and vote on it, yes.
We made it, well, I thought in terms.
She's
of trying
just
to
saying
read
she
what
doesn't
she's
have to go
saying.
write a whole new,
No, we're not writing a new
right,
language, and I just read the language to be sure, but all it says in terms of describing the area is, well, it's here, it's right here. Nope.
Literally just changing the map.
Overlay area.
Oh.
Changing the area, yeah. So yeah, we don't have to write new language. We're just incorporating more.
Encompasses, includes, and overlays all land bounded by the CLR overlay district boundaries in figures 31, 35, 2, and 35, 3. Well, this will be,
You create a new
35-3 then.
35-3 then,
well,
right?
we will be modifying 35, 3
Mhm.
by adding this to, it will go to the west, I guess.
Yes,
So it'll just be a one-page change.
Yes.
Mhm.
No
So
other-
what we'll
no-
have to have then is this page showing it as a revision.
yeah,
Okay. Then we're all on this, that's all
Yeah.
trying to make sure that we were clear on what it was that Holly was expecting us to take action on.
No additional uses.
no additional uses, no changes, no blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
And those, the uses that are in the existing, that are defined in the existing sub area C, those uses, because they'll be right next to what we just approved. Those uses all make sense and line up and it's,
And like I said, if for some reason you would get and that's quite a ways away because we don't have sewer up there. And we don't have any electric up there to speak of. But if there was a development that wanted to overlap, I mean, we could almost do what we're doing now. Yeah, and you know, putting an overlay on top of an overlay.
because I guess the issue is right now, they're not covered by any overlay district at all.
Nothing.
This little square.
Right.
Except for the current ones we have.
No,
Well,
not this little.
they are
That
covered
area's
by
covered.
They're
one
covered by
overlay,
like,
but it's the planned
And
conservation residential.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a non-sewer overlay, yeah.
Right.
Or it could just, you know, people can keep
Okay.
using it the way they want to.
Well, these two other ones, that between now and I guess when we meet in January, we can consider these possibly in January, that we won't receive them or scheduling a hearing at that time. We won't look at these in terms of trying to schedule a hearing for them tonight. That wasn't your expectation, was it?
I wanted you to have them. And I wanted people to be able to start looking at them in the next month. And however you want to work it, if you want to start, have a schedule, you know, at your next meeting, we can schedule questions. Then set a hearing for after that. However you want to work it, just trying to
Yeah, well, I think
get it rolling.
the way that we handled this last one was what you just described. That is, we would potentially then in January have some discussion about these, any questions. And then after that, look to maybe in February, then bringing
hearing.
it back in terms of potentially receiving it for scheduling a hearing. So that means the hearing then would be in March.
Yeah, things run slow, don't they?
Is that,
be in a hurry?
Yeah.
Why?
We're trying to utilize our resources to get to some additional planning. And so in March, we want to actually start on using our resources for Center Village planning,
Like
That's-
the town center or town square, if you will.
the whole thing. And that's going to be massive. And so utilizing Holly, and then she's also got some other things for the township to work on going forward. It stretches the resources.
So I thought a lot of the reason that we were trying to expedite and hurry along some of these overlays was to protect the outer areas of the township from annexation. Is that right? Was that our goal, kind of?
Yes, that,
Yes.
I think that's.
And
accurate
looking at
statement.
these two, these are very internal areas
Yes,
that to me aren't necessarily at risk.
but you still
So
have
I'm
to do
just-
something with them.
I mean, maybe.
Okay.
But is it time sensitive? Is it
Time
time sensitive
sensitive
for
as
this?
far as doing something, so the trustees want to have this done. At least, because you'll use this as your baseline, doesn't mean they can't be changed, or you can put an overlay on top of it, or change something like that. But we have nothing, there's nothing there versus, the old zoning. You have nothing, most communities no longer have nothing. If you look at, well, Jersey, I mean, they just did a massive and covered the whole township. But everybody's going to, having something, Berkshire, all those, they all have some type of zoning or overlay over the entire township.
But to Brittany's point, to try to get that done in a few months, just to have something when the threat is pretty minimal.
Well, it's not the threat anymore, it's just zoning.
Well, but we do have, I mean,
But
we have residential zoning though. I mean, we have
the old zoning,
PRC,
okay, let me put it this way, you
So-
don't have sewer zoning in the center part. And this is the north section.
We don't have sewers anywhere close to
No.
being there, right? So
So it's just,
I'm
we're just
just-
trying to, the trustees would like to have the zoning finished. Is what I've been told.
well, I'm just concerned that we're rushing it and I feel like I don't,
I
Our
figured you would
current-
take them one at a time. I didn't think you'd
Yeah.
take all three.
Yeah.
This one's sort of easy.
yeah,
Right. When you get to the other two, my feeling was you'd probably take the one that's the 605, that's the largest. And hammer on it if, I'm just passing the message along.
I mean,
We,
it's the,
we have been told in numerous public meetings that the residents want a town center kind of thing.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about these two that, and I'm also thinking about just in general, like the general plan of the township and the general, desires of the residents is the rural like development. And I feel like we're like sticking all this, business and industrial stuff within areas
Well,
that could
yeah.
potentially be more planned conservation residential that I don't,
This,
I haven't read
605.
it yet, so I don't know.
yeah, the 605 is what this was called the cottage industry. And we took the word cottage out of it. Some people didn't like it. But it pretty much mirrors our residential overlay on the southern section, only we have put in some small cottage business language. And for exposure on 605 or some of the other roads, there's a maximum of 5,000 square foot businesses. And also utilizing existing homes that face 605 if you want to make a business out of it. But yes, this does utilize the 3 per acre that we just did. It also utilizes the 50% open space. So what I would suggest is, I know the holidays are coming up or almost here. Look at that 605. And then your concerns and stuff can be addressed, or we can talk about it at the next meeting. Because I don't, it's not going to be like the industrial or the mixed use. It's more residential friendly. Like I said, it's got the 50% open space. It's got small businesses, that type of thing.
Does it take any language from our existing commercial, just straight commercial districts, C1?
She's got, the table with the allowed uses and the sizes. I didn't know how much you want to get into it. I ran, it's a 5,000 square foot maximum business. And I went into the community and ran some photos of some areas and little centers that are, shows what 5,000 feet, how big it is. It's not necessarily our design, but I just, to show you what 5,000 feet would encompass.
That's in here, or you have? it
Yeah, I
otherwise?
brought it, I just brought, no, that's not in there. I
Okay.
ran some today.
Okay.
But like I said, it's hard to do an attack center village because you're talking about the Parks Committee, Heritage, getting everybody together, not only on the residential, commercial, the use here. It's going to be quite intensive and a lot of time. So I think the idea was to have these out of the way, have something banked, so to speak, and then move on to that, because this is the center and it's going to touch all these areas. So what happens is if we do Center Village and don't touch this, then you've got a blank one sort of just above it in what they wanted to do. That was the general consensus. We've always saved the Center Village till last. It was going to be the most in-depth artist.
In relation to the center village, are there any concerns, or has anybody expressed concerns with the traffic patterns? Because State Route 6, I was just thinking about this the other day. State Route 605, that's like a major through, and kind of similar to Route 3 in Westerville, that is a nightmare
Yeah.
to get through uptown Westerville. And I don't want 605 to turn into Route 3 in Westerville. So I know we have on the map the town center in Center Village, right? But has anybody thought, is that the right place to put it? Does it have to be in the center of the township?
Yeah, so we haven't gotten into those discussions. I have met with designers and also in the early committee meetings and stuff. I don't know if it would happen this way, but we have a lot of ground right here where the fire department sits. The whole idea was to move all the facilities and everything to this side. We're talking about to maintain the township, fire department, administrative maintenance, move all that maintenance stuff over here eventually.
Yeah.
Opening up that whole area for the park and farmers market and that type of thing, then that also would become the crux for the walkable community. So the walkable community, not that some of it can't be on this side, but the walkable community would mostly be on that side. That is the larger area. And then moving north into the open space that's like heading towards Souders and the new area, plus then you got the old area. But I would envision the majority of your residential activities would be on that side.
Okay. I mean, does that
Because we
include
don't
then
want to have two
additional
things,
road?
we don't want the kids running from over there to over here on 605. So that's the idea, is to move everything over here administratively and then have that area opened up.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. I just want us to be thoughtful about where we put that in the main throughways.
Oh, yeah, we have to get engineers, architects. That's what I said. It's going to be very planners, help. It's going to be, and it's going to be costly.
I mean, are there thoughts of adding new roads too? Like, how is traffic going to flow through the township?
Well, we have talked with Delaware County Engineering on the county roads. The county, their description is that we have our east, west, north, south main roads. Inside the development areas, if the builders and or the township want to add roads, those will be township roads. So right now there is no pie in the sky was always put an outer belt on the north side of Center Village, so to speak. In other words, just go around that way to get the traffic off of us. And but the state and the county aren't willing to do that right now.
Okay.
So we're right back, and we even took We even took Jason, our maintenance supervisor, because they handle road maintenance and that type of thing. Mike and I took them with us to engineering. And we talked about, what we have to take care of, how many homes have to, how many roads do you have to have per homes and that. But Delaware County Engineering isn't willing to, and the county isn't willing to pay for any of those roads.
There are roadway improvements that are planned through Licking County, and the Intel, the greater regional area. There are proposed road improvements, 37.
Trying to get some of them
There
off
are
of us.
some
Yeah.
bypass, areas noted there where like there's bypass areas for Johnstown that would come up. I think it's County Line Road over to State Route 37. So there's other improvements. And then there's also a Center Village roadway improvement that's identified all the way from the western side of the township all the way through to the eastern part of the township. So, whether it's putting in a turning lane, making it go from 2 lanes to 2.5 with a turning lane or whatever.
Yeah.
So there are some improvements that are identified in kind of a longer range plan, but
I've just been checking to my messages, trying to make sure if I got one from Scott that he wasn't going to be here tonight or anything. I haven't received nothing from him. Obviously, it's now what, 6 minutes past 8. The last message I sent to him told him we would start. Oh, there he is. Just wondering whether or not you were coming.
Ears on fire.
Good, glad you're here.
So what I would suggest is gander at it while you can, till the next meeting, take a look at it. And then we can discuss how you want to go forward.
Okay.
That sound reasonable? But like I said, the trustees would like to get it banked. I think also once that's done, then there's going to be an overview of the entire township and what's been done. And they feel that they can't do that until this is done.
And I
Well,
feel opposite. I almost want that now before we keep adding more things to the
Well,
internal.
again, these are overlays. They're important, but they can be amended, they can be changed, and you can add to them.
Well, we know how hard that is.
Add on.
we will put these on the agenda for preliminary discussion, and either Megan can be there
Mhm.
or Holly if she's available, but
Mhm.
she seems to have a conflict with other meetings on
Mhm.
the first, maybe, and the second Mondays of each month. I'm not sure.
Yeah, now also.
I know she has some kind of other meetings that she
Yeah.
has on a Monday.
But yeah, if need be, I can see if she'll be here. Which do you want to do it the first meeting of the month?
That's when we would probably do it, yes.
Okay, I'll check
Because
with
we've
her.
already scheduled, we didn't want to push back again on Scott in terms of the second meeting. in
Right,
January.
okay, well, I'll see if she's available.
This will have it's very relevant to where we're looking, not the medical research one, but the one for residential neighborhood business. I mean, that's what we're looking at. The next 2 areas are straight districts,
Mhm,
12 and 14,
mhm.
which relate to the neighborhood business and office district. So that's what's going to be our discussion tonight. I didn't know these were coming, but they're very relevant
Well, I let you know they were coming.
in the sense of, oh yeah, I
know what
mean,
they were.
but I didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew that, but I didn't know when, put it that way. So, I think the one that, we want to make sure, then I think it's important that, Scott, at this point, that you have a copy of both of these early rather than late, so
Well, I
that,
think, no disrespect to Scott, but I think we need to go through it at least once before he gets it in case there's some major changes.
well, but this is relevant to our discussion Did you not hear what I said? We are
I'm not
focused
following
on,
you, no. And
okay,
talk to me
it
like
wasn't clear. Because we are focusing on dealing with neighborhood office district, straight district,
I see.
and neighborhood commercial district as a
Mhm.
straight district, that becomes relevant to this one in particular. Neighborhood business overlay. Do we, in my own mind, I'm just thinking in terms of, well,
No, this
how many
one,
different districts do
one's
we need to
25
create?
no, this one you have to have 25 acres, just like the rest of the overlays.
Yeah, this is 25.
The old one, you don't have to.
Correct. Maybe
So
we
I
don't
don't- I
want
don't-
them,
I
but
don't-
is there, what's the relevance between the two?
I don't see much.
That's your opinion.
You just asked me.
I know, and that's fine. I'm just saying that that is your opinion.
I'm just, whatever you guys want to do.
We've got other people that need to be involved in this process besides you and Holly.
I have the trustees and the staff involved, yes. And I'm bringing it to you early. I brought it to you early. I told you it was coming. Don't tell me you didn't know it was coming. I told you it was coming.
I did not know it was coming tonight until today.
I told you. I told you last month it was coming. We had 3 coming.
Yes, you did. I'm not denying that you said that,
Okay.
but I guess my expectation was it wasn't going to be coming until next year. When you told me that a month ago, because we're still busy with all these other things that we're
Well,
dealing with.
I understand. I'm sorry, but there again, we'd like to get them wrapped up so that we can do an overview and get started on Center Village.
You can take it directly to the trustees and just bypass us.
I could.
Why don't you do that?
Well, the trustees would like for you guys to have an input.
Well, that's what we're trying to provide the opportunity for that, but you seem to be resisting it.
No, you're not understanding. You said you wanted Scott to look at it. I said, maybe we should go through it one time before you bother Scott. In case something changes.
Well, of course it's going to probably change, but can't we get input from him?
I'm not answering that.
Are there any new definitions in here? Because that was a problem the last time. There were some,
I can check.
Added
I actually
definition.
didn't work on the overlay.
the reason I'm thinking of Scott is because of the relationship potentially between what we're going to be working on in this document and whether or not there's some language in here
Mhm.
that is appropriate or contradicts the other language in that we have. Yes, I understand what you're saying about this would require a minimum of 25 acres. The straight districts do not require that. But that aside, we're still talking about potential businesses. And it just seems like we're potentially creating some confusion. If
Well,
we
okay,
don't
I've already read it.
try to look at it in terms of
Yeah, I
being
know.
consistent with some of the language where there would be discussion about a
Definitions in it.
business.
There's one new definition that's neighborhood business. And that is in the 605. It should be.
Yeah,
at
that's
the
the one
end
that
of
I'm
that.
talking about.
Yeah.
Because I think this one also there's something in this one about saying it doesn't have to be 25 acres along 605.
The existing homes that are converted can be a half acre to a cottage business.
So see, there is
I was just trying to save Scott in the township, in the.
well, I would not be asking Scott to take it to the, there he is. We're talking about him. I'll ask him. I'm not expecting that this would go to regional planning for a review in the sense of taking it to regional planning commission for consideration until after we had indeed begun, because but would it be premature for you to take a look at this, Scott?
can do whatever you ask.
Not the whole team and not for the purpose of taking it to the commission for any action on their part, but just looking at it as it relates to the neighborhood commercial district and neighborhood office district that we're going to be working on. One of the things that you had mentioned to me was the possibility of combining those into one for the future.
I actually think it would be a good
That would
idea.
be all right if he's not gonna go, like I said, I was just trying to save everybody some time if something changed. So for them to sit down and go through the entire document, and then we change some stuff, then they have to go back through it again. I was just merely trying to save some time. Him looking at the document and based on what you're saying and the definition, that's fine.
I'm looking at it from a perspective of he looks at this one in particular, as I said, because it's going to relate specifically to the things that we're about
Right.
to embark on next.
Mhm. But there again, I haven't read recently what you're changing on the old zoning.
We haven't changed anything yet.
Right, but
That's my
I
point.
think there's gonna, I don't think it's gonna be apples to apples at all.
Well, probably not,
Yeah,
but to the
but that's fine.
extent,
If he wants to look at it, I was just trying to save some, them having to do it twice or us having to go through twice.
well, if Scott doesn't want to look at it, that's fine too.
But I would, we do have the one specific definitions. I would encourage him to look at that. See maybe what they thought on the there again, you guys haven't read it, but on the
Yeah, we're
Half acre-
defining in
half
here,
acre homes.
that the only one is neighborhood business?
That's the only one.
And do we already have a neighborhood business definition? I don't know.
We might have neighborhood commercial.
No, we don't. All we have is neighborhood office. No neighborhood business definition. So that would be a new one that would have to end up potentially down the road then being added. There's no new definitions in 38.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, Scott, let's start our discussion relating to Articles 12 and 14, because that's where we were going to go next.
If you're done with us, we're gonna skip out.
Well, you're very welcome to stay, because you may hear some more things that relate to, especially to this 37. I don't know that it necessarily will relate to one for the Medical and Research Center, but as we start through, I want to take a look at 37, as I said, the relationship, since it specifically.
If you guys want to give
allows for-
Scott a copy, like I said, I don't have a problem with it and him reading it. But I'm just worried that on an overall basis, it's a large document. If he went through it and then he had to go through it again, duplication of efforts.
Yeah, well, I'm not expecting at this point that the intent of my comment wasn't to submit it to them to go to regional planning in the sense of taking it to the commission at this stage. No, that would be premature. So we waited before, as we dealt with Article 36, but he had a copy of it before. So he didn't take it to regional planning. I mean, to the commission. This one, same thing. That's what I would ask him to, if he could take a look at it. Okay. Well, thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It will be on the agenda, January,
Good.
for discussion, and
Good.
Megan will be there and or Holly. If Holly's not there, that's fine. We'll be like we dealt with at the last, on 36.
Yeah, I'll check with Holly. Also, remember Molly was here?
Yes, Molly.
Molly is working remotely. Yeah.
Yep.
And,
He's working where?
did she
Remotely.
Remotely,
Yeah.
okay.
Did she was working?
Yeah, Molly's the one who actually worked on the overlays.
Well, we might have her on Zoom. If Holly can't be here, we might have Molly on Zoom. Along with
So
Megan.
she is still continuing to work.
No, she moved to Cleveland. And she's been hired back to work remotely.
Oh, she's been hired back to work remotely on certain projects.
Right.
One of
This
the
being one of
projects
them.
being, working on these overlays. Okay, now I'm with you. I understand.
Yeah. So if Holly can't
I
be here,
saw the email with her name on it and wondered about that.
so between Megan, so we'll have Megan here and maybe Molly, maybe Holly. So we'll find out.
Well, if Zoom's working, yeah,
Do we
she
have-
wouldn't have to drive down from Cleveland. She
No,
could-
she'll be on Zoom, yeah.
Do we have electronic copies of these?
There should be.
There's one on the,
On the shared
On the
document, I
shared-
uploaded it
the
today.
shared drive, yeah.
Get on that.
Me neither. I'm having all kinds of trouble with it.
I requested access. Does it come to you?
No, it comes to Mike.
Oh, okay. So Mike has to give us access?
Yeah.
I don't know why I've given you access more than once. I've given Joni access more than once.
I don't get
And
it.
they keep saying they don't have access.
It keeps
it-
giving
it-
me the option to re-request.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Request
Hi,
for
thank you.
access.
How about you? Do you have all the access you need, Jim?
I just go to her.
That's a simple solution.
Yeah.
He just walks down the hallway.
Yeah, because you're here, you can do that.
Yeah, I do that, but no, I just have my copies. I don't get into yours.
Mhm.
And that's just you guys. So I have my own copies, my own notes. So, but I'm not privileged to get into what you guys. are doing.
Okay.
All right.
It has been
All
very
right, thank you.
frustrating.
Thank
to
you.
not Be able to get to them.
So-
How'd you change the minutes?
What is the issue
the minutes I
that
was able to get.
after
into,
I give it
the
to them,
Article 30
they continue to have a problem, but
The
Louis
couple
doesn't.
minutes.
I gave him access and he's not repeatedly asking for access.
Well, and like when I asked for
I don't know
access,
what the
as soon
difference
as
is.
you accepted me, I could instantly see it and download and everything, so I don't know what the difference between what I'm doing, and what you guys are doing. Because as soon as you gave me permission, I was able to upload, look at everything, I was able to move files around, send it to you guys.
So-
You did eventually give me permission to do the minutes and I sent my corrections,
Yeah.
I think. I never
I
get,
think you did.
I never get a way to
didn't
know
check
if I
them
did or
didn't.
not.
But why would it keep asking, telling them that they need to
Every single
contact me to
time.
get permission?
Every
each
single
time.
For every document, or like, have you been able to log into the SharePoint site?
No,
Have you?
Maybe that's part of the
tried?
problem.
yes,
I,
repeatedly.
we're not gonna figure that out here tonight, but I just wanted you to be aware that there was some kind of an issue that's still hanging in there.
I think Alan would probably be the best one. He actually, we talked for over, I mean, we were probably on the phone for over an hour. And he walked me through step by step on how to share things on there, how to communicate with you guys through it. So maybe we need to find a time for him to go over it with everybody, because he's gonna be able to explain it 1,000 times better than me, because he taught me how to do it.
Mhm.
I knew a little bit, but he definitely gave me way more insight on how it works.
Okay.
So that might be a good idea, is kind of rope him in and have him do almost like a little training on, and maybe there's something on your end that's causing them to have to keep asking that we can fix.
Next, at our next meeting, if there hasn't been any you might want to go ahead and contact Alan directly.
This month is not a good month to do anything extra.
No.
Well, you don't have to do it this month.
We got Christmas in 2 weeks, there is.
But when we have our meeting, when we get into January, we have our meeting, then we'll bring it up with him at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. Just
We-
trying to see if we can't get it simplified if we can.
Do we know yet if we can have our organizational meeting on the 6th?
Not definitively unless they,
Yes, so I did send it to you, but yeah.
I saw that, but I'm not necessarily going to act on that. Even though,
Why
that
not?
because we've never done it that way. We've always waited for the trustees. And I don't want to suddenly, and Alan will have to be reappointed. His term is only for 1 year.
Okay,
Brittany will have to be reappointed.
we've already talked.
Did you submit? Has she been reappointed already?
No, we talked about what she has to send me.
You know, your term's up. That's the reason I'm saying that. So have you requested to be re-upped?
No, I have to send it to Ashley.
Yeah,
Okay,
her
But
and
I
were
will request.
discussing And,
okay.
but yeah.
So-
They're on, I have
but-
her and Alan on the reorg meeting.
So, you know, what I'm saying is that Brittany would not be able to vote because she's no longer a member. And I don't know. I
It
don't
will be
understand
different.
why the attorney would say it's okay to go ahead when,
Because you still have enough voting members.
oh, that we would. I understand that.
So I'm sure that's probably why, because you guys would still technically have the correct amount of voting members. I mean, it's completely up to you guys whether you want to push your meeting back or if you want to change it for a different day and time, but that's what I was told was that
Well, we could,
you guys were. allowed to have
what he
it.
apparently told you, from what I read your message to me, the attorney apparently told Ashley that we can go ahead and meet even if the trustees haven't had their reorganization meeting and reconstituted the zoning commission. That's the reason I said I wasn't
That-
planning to do
That
that.
just sounds bizarre.
I beg your pardon?
It just sounds bizarre that, yeah, you guys can go ahead and meet, but we don't know
Well,
if you're official yet.
But there still would be,
But
I
the
guess there'd
commission
still
is
be
official.
four of
It would
us.
just be the two that have to be re-put in if it, essentially. So it would only be one meeting that those two just couldn't
yeah.
vote or participate.
So if you want, we can go ahead and schedule the meeting and not worry about whether or not the trustees,
When do the trustees meet?
They,
meet or not. But Joe, Dave indicated to me that he would be checking with the other two trustees. If possibly tomorrow, because they're having a special meeting, and then make a decision about the date. But as of whatever day I called him last week, they had not.
the date was set at the reorg meeting last year. They set the next year's reorg meeting.
That's what Dave said, but he said the two new members weren't there.
No, but they can't. I know they cannot change it to be on the second. Because that's the week that they did it before, but the administrative offices are closed until after, the first is a holiday for the building. But like the chiefs aren't here, zoning's not here, I'm not here.
Is that what they set it for? Was the second?
No, the previous, like this year, this January, it was, I think, the third, second or third.
It was the
They set
third.
it for the 8th because it didn't work with the schedules that were in the system. So
Oh,
that's why they set it back. I think it's because you have Christmas that whole week, and then we come back to the office 2 days, and then we have another holiday, so the administrative offices were just closed until the first because. you
so
come
they're,
back for
are
2
they
days
gonna,
for
they're not
nothing.
gonna have their organizational meeting until the 8th? You know that for a fact?
That, yes, because
Okay.
that's the date that was set
So-
for, because they set the date.
So do
At
we
this
want
year's
to,
reorg
do we want to have a meeting on the 6th? Or do we want to not have a meeting on the 6th?
It's okay with me to skip it. Cause we're adding in that one on the 27th anyway.
Yeah, we are. But then Scott would be the first meeting in January, would be a workshop meeting.
Mhm.
We don't have any hearings scheduled for the 6th,
Nope.
right?
No,
Nope.
I
Nothing
think that would be
scheduled,
the
so
only thing if you guys had hearings that would have to be.
that we've
moved
already
and
done,
stuff,
we
if
haven't
you
done
don't
any
have
public notices. We have no agenda.
So we do our organizational meeting on the 13th then, like at 7?
oh,
And then we,
life gets complicated with the
Do normal
calendars.
Were you planning to be here on the 13th?
Yeah, I'll be here on the 13th. I was going to be out of town, will be out of town on the 6th.
I think we should just skip the 6th then.
okay.
If you're not gonna be here, Brittany can't vote.
Yeah, Brittany can't vote. Alan can't
Alan
vote.
won't.
if
And you won't
anyone
be
else is
here.
absent, you couldn't have a meeting.
Yeah,
Just push it to the 13th. We'll have our workshop meeting and then we've got that preliminary meeting
do
scheduled
we-
for the 27th.
What,
We can do a reorg and then do workshop, can't we?
yeah, the organizational meeting's usually at 7 anyway to get through the whole list of things.
yeah,
And then we move right into our regular.
and then go
board
into the
workshap.
regular, well,
Usually it
the
takes like a
workshop
half
meeting
hour.
at 7:30.
Yeah.
But what about these things then? We were gonna deal with those in January.
Well, we're not. And they're not urgent.
We can deal with that at our workshop meeting if we want to, after the organizational meeting. We can do a
Well-
first reading of one of those.
But we're not gonna do a reading per se, but
Well, like read
yeah,
through.
bring them in terms of talking to, but
Scott
what do we
will
do?
be here.
Scott, normally we have the second meeting of each month
Yeah,
for our workshop, and we've been inviting Scott to come
Yeah.
into those.
Yeah.
Um.
he may not want to come anymore after.
He definitely doesn't want to come anymore.
2025. All right, so we're not gonna have a meeting on the 6th,
Right.
then that would be the 13th. And then we also already have a meeting already scheduled for the 27th.
I won't be here.
That's a preliminary meeting.
Yep.
Uh,
For
on a
COCHA.
specific project, yeah,
Capuccio,
right.
Yep.
Yes, that's the one. Do we want to schedule another meeting? But it
No.
can't be on the third Monday because
No.
that's a BCA meeting.
No, we don't.
No.
our next official meeting will be February, first Monday in February. Not
Yep.
official meeting, but the next.
The 3rd of February.
Well, so the 3rd of February, there would be an expectation we would deal with these two. Well, actually.
Just the one. I don't think we're not gonna get past the first one,
Can't do two.
605 one.
Whichever one.
Well, 605 one, I think is the one that I want Scott particularly to take a look at, but
And he said he's gonna be here on the workshop meeting on the January 13th anyway.
yeah, so maybe we'll just go ahead and plan to do that, Scott. Would that work for you? Be okay?
If we get him a copy.
I'll get you a copy of this. Oh,
What does that mean? Would that be okay?
the one that we're talking about is Article 37.
A new article.
Yeah, you can always give me something without asking. I mean,
Oh,
right?
okay.
I mean,
Well, there you go.
Article
It
37.
Probably would be helpful for Scott to be here as we're having the discussion with Holly.
Yeah.
Or whoever shows up from them, for him to be here to hear that, even if he hasn't gone through and read the whole thing. At least he can participate in the discussion. He can throw up a flag if he sees that there's a.
I didn't
issue
look
with
at
something
this
else.
in detail. I just took a
Nobody
look
did, we
at it and
just got
saw
it.
that.
Yeah.
Parts of this then allow for, doesn't require a minimum of 25 acres along 605. If a property abuts 605, a
Then it
half
doesn't
acre
require-
is
Yeah,
is all that's necessary. Because we've already got that designated.
commercial.
Well, in terms of the master plan that we adopted.
Yeah.
Up
Yeah.
605. And we have the two straight districts that may then relate to this as well.
And I think we probably should get started on that. Because it's already 8:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
So-
start talking about those.
Well, he hasn't got anything to present specifically tonight. He's just
Okay.
here for discussion about it. Right, Scott? I'm going to say to you now, Scott, take over. Where do you want to
Well,
go?
I don't know why have I made things awkward? I mean, why?
No, you have
No.
not.
Why? Why do you say that?
I don't know. It just feels. It's felt awkward for 2 years, so I don't know. This feels like there's two different groups doing two different things.
Yeah, it seems like that, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't think you would ever back up and start that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
overlays kind of give stuff away and you've got years before you're gonna get up this far north,
One
I
would
think.
think.
But I don't know.
Well, that's, uh,
So I mean, our reviews have been very, if this is what you want to do, then, we'll look at the technical side of it.
we're getting the indication you heard, I'm not sure if you were here yet or not, but we're getting the indication from Jim that this is what the trustees want. We got one trustee though that keeps wanting to hold
Yeah.
things up
Yeah,
until such time as a written economic development plan is prepared.
I hate to say it, but that's kind of how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like we're just like throwing like random things here and there and here and there. And I'm confused what the overall strategy is. Like what are we doing?
we're giving things away to developers.
Well, that's kind of how I feel. And I don't think that's how the residents want it. That's not how I want it. I think the residents spoke pretty loudly when they said that they didn't want to merge with Westerville. And then I feel like we keep adding these overlays that are essentially going to make it possible to be Westerville. And I mean,
I know
I know I'm like,
it's-
I'm going very extreme now.
Make
But
it possible to have all the same kind of
have all the
development.
same kind of development. And to me, that I'm confused, I guess, where we're
Well,
going.
Um,
And that's why
you're
you
not,
don't
you're
feel
not
right.
alone in that regard. Like, you
Okay.
heard some of my
Okay,
views
good.
tonight.
I thought maybe I was like, I don't know. I'm not like a zoning expert here, so maybe I'm just,
I think these two new districts that they've given, or these two new overlays that we've been provided, I don't see the urgency of them. The extending the map to cover up that one little block
Yeah,
makes,
that's
okay.
that's easy enough.
That's separate one, yeah.
Yeah, that is simple, I think, if to revise that,
No.
extend that.
And that may
overlay
not be
is-
clear to Scott right now, that first page,
Yeah.
Goes with Article
I
35.
figured that.
Because that,
How do you
that,
say that?
that district's already been approved, we've already been through all of that, extending it over to cover up that. But now then, the entire township is covered with overlay on the edges,
And
right?
yeah, which that was a strategic goal.
And if that's,
To
if
prevent
that's true,
annexation.
and all of that is taken care of, then why do we even, I mean, you might say just to have it. Well, rather than just approve it so we have something when it's not even necessary, why not go ahead and focus on that central part if that's the part that's the most urgent or the most desirable and the most important? Why not focus on that next?
because it's gonna
instead of-
cost the money for engineers and stuff.
Well, yeah, but it's gonna cost the money either way,
Rather get
whether we
started on it
do
now
these
I
than-
know.
or
than
not.
wait 3 more months or 5 more months. Why don't we get started
Or-
working towards that or finish up all these other loose ends that we have
Yeah.
to finish before we tackle something new?
I agree.
Clean up everything get it all caught up, get everything cleaned up, get it caught up, and then then we can focus on the Center Village overlay if that's what we want to do, or I don't know. These other two just seem like
well,
they're
they're working independently
Yeah,
from us. They're working, when I say they, I'm meaning Jim Steele Smith, Mike, Cannon and Holly, they're working directly with the trustees. And we don't really know what's happening with that until they bring something in here or they share the information with us.
but
Which is what
you're
they're-
absolutely
is-
right. There is at least one trustee who is not in favor of them doing all this stuff. And it's the one who lives beside me, and I have talked to him when there wasn't a quorum of trustees. And he has very definite opinions about not,
right.
throwing
There's a desire, I think, at least from one of those trustees, to have a very well laid out plan for the township. All of this is part of that, but it includes facilities. When he was saying before about having what does our campus map look like? What is we're gonna move?
Yeah.
Is that all, that hasn't
That hasn't come up
that's
at
just been
all.
talk.
Yeah.
People have just been talking.
Yeah.
That's not in a plan. That's not. There's no, that's gonna be in 3 years, then this is gonna be in 4 years, and there's none of that yet. So, I don't know. I keep going back to these are not needed at this point. I mean, not needed right now. In the future, I think they will be, but I don't think they're urgent.
No, I believe Jim has been contacted by somebody who wants to do the medical campus. Who wants to purchase that land or is. And,
Just
you know,
reading-
that is,
I mean,
that is
Reading
straight
through that,
development.
That is like, I was shocked that I'm just paging through it. I'm like, is that what this is gonna be?
I mean, it is, someone wants it, but
It's massive.
do the residents want that?
Probably not. They probably don't want. any of
Which,
this.
at
Well,
what point? do-
But
It's
do-
not something that's
it's-
been put out there for the residents to consider
There
until
you go.
such time as
There you go.
it comes to us. That's the first opportunity.
That's the first
that
time they have a
residents
stay
are going to-
and they probably don't even know that that's going on.
Yeah, sure. How many people are online?
Well, look how many people. have
I'm
participated
concerned
with us here tonight.
Personally,
Bob
that
Singer's-
it's not aligned with what the residents want.
Yeah,
We should be concerned, but we need to move on and take advantage of having Scott with us
So,
tonight.
Yeah.
yes, so.
Are you still thinking in terms of combining Articles 12 and 11, which were the plan? No, that was not 11, it's what, 13 and 12 or something?
Well, I mean, there's,
12 and 13. No,
Maybe.
there are a
Neighborhood
number of
office.
differences. But you're not, is it? Should have done this ahead of time. Anything that's already zoned this way is minor, right? There might be a little piece on Center Village Road that's neighborhood commercial.
Hmm.
Here and there.
Like, was it 13 and 14?
Well-
That doesn't make sense.
now it's 12 and
12.
14.
Well, but okay. I was gonna say 12 and 14.
12 and 14.
It's 12 and 14.
Yeah. We couldn't have put them together, huh?
C1 and C2.
Because 12 is neighborhood office district
Yeah.
and 14 is neighborhood commercial. The neighborhood
Looks-
commercial is the one that would be essentially, well, we do have some neighborhood commercial parcels in the district that have had this zoning in the township, I mean. I don't know, I don't think that we have any neighborhood office district in the township. Am I wrong about that, Scott, or can you tell by looking at that map?
Little pink spots, but I think that has to be something else. Oh, for some reason we have freshwater ponds. Color. Oh, yeah, he separated out the different types of wetlands at some point, so. That's gonna confuse us. Yeah, I had just said, if we're looking to make things. As you add more districts, I say oddly, if we're looking to simplify things. You can potentially combine these two. Because if you have neighborhood commercial, it's not very difficult to just add some office uses to it.
Yeah. And if we don't have any neighborhood office districts. Well, I guess even if we did, see, what I'm concerned about is we don't want to create a situation where we make something non-conforming.
Yeah. Well, and we
But-
can pull up, I mean, it doesn't have to be the visible map. I mean, we can. We can run a report and figure out if there are any that are zoned.
I know that we've got some C2s out there. One right up here on Miller Paul Road and another one over here on Center, yeah, Center Village Road. Jerry Paul's place up there. It used to be the boat,
Yeah.
that RV place. And now that's zone commercial. And it's
That campground area.
on the opposite side of the
Yeah.
street, yeah.
Okay.
Where at one time that was Paul's Marine,
Oh, okay.
that building there. I'm not sure what they're using it for currently, but it does have that zoning. And then Bachman's out there has some commercial zoning. And there's some others, I think. I think there's one down maybe on Fancher.
What about that pizza place out on Orchard?
Oh, maybe for Casas, is it C2?
Well, they're in near the.
Well, they're in Harlem Village
Village.
now.
I'm thinking of the,
Chateau.
The Chateau.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You're right. I think that one, yeah, was down on it's on Gorsuch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such.
So we do have a few I know that are in that category. But neighborhood office district is only got
Couple of pages.
4 pages, you know.
Yeah, the main differences that I found are that obviously offices are in neighborhood office. They're not listed in neighborhood commercial. And then neighborhood commercial allows single family dwellings an outside display of product for sale. Drive through and drive.
Yeah, conditional use is to have apartments over or adjacent to a commercial store.
Well, that's apartments, but also, I don't know why single family is in there. But they're conditional use, so it wouldn't be like a single family neighborhood, it would be
Right.
a couple of units, I think. And then building size has a little bit of a difference. So offices are allowed to go up to 3,000 square feet.
Well, these two districts, they're both pretty short and simple.
Right, because there's no development plan requirement and there's no, it just lists all the other sections that you have to meet. And there may be some value in putting a little bit more screening in, a little bit more landscaping, because you're having these single uses that may be scattered about.
Mm.
But when it's a straight district, it's harder to, the board is not reviewing the development plan, it's just going through the zoning inspector's office.
What's the commission members, what's your view with regard to the possibility of combining these two into one?
Seems
That-
like there's already a lot of overlap.
Think that would be something that we should basically encourage Scott to go ahead and create a draft that way?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm not very familiar with these. I haven't read these. Is
It's been a
it,
long time since we've.
I was gonna
since we
say, is
haven't-
it
we don't-
reasonable to
yeah.
want to incorporate like some of the like setback and buffering requirements?
Well, they
into
do have-
these that we put in some of the overlays, or is that not a thing that goes into?
I mean, they do have some development standards in both of them.
Okay,
Basically building sizes and setbacks and
okay.
stuff.
I
like
haven't
that.
looked at it. I was gonna say, I didn't know if we wanted to like build any of that in differently.
Well, it could be, yes, the answer to your question is, could we consider it? Yes.
And
And
the
then the
C2
question
does
is,
have allow
Yeah,
a
what is
larger
it?
building,
Hold on.
5,000 as opposed to 3,000 square feet.
Would we want to reduce, would you think we'd want to reduce it or we'd want to
Yeah, I mean,
increase it?
If you're gonna have a. I wonder what size Picasso's is,
Probably less than
3,000.
less than 3,000. Cause I'm just thinking my house is like 1,600 square feet and for Casas is like
it's tiny.
smaller than my house, I feel like.
Well, 3,000 square feet, it would be, I don't know, what would it be, 50 by 60?
Probably, yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, obviously the intent behind this originally was single uses. And maybe a lot of these dimensions may predate, today's
Mhm.
standards. You might not. I can do some more research. You might not be able to get much. I don't know what the standard, doctor's office, standalone
Mhm.
center or whatever.
Here's what Google says. 3,000 square feet business would be considered a mid-sized business, suitable for a variety of operations like small retail store, mid-sized salon, a moderately sized restaurant with seating, like a Bob Evans. Anyways, no, it doesn't say that. That was a
No.
thought.
No.
That was Ruby's thought. But anyway.
Well, then 5,000 could probably have a couple of slots for the retail side, because it's 5,000.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
That, and 5,000 is roughly an eighth of an acre.
that could be a pretty decent business.
That'd be like a,
You need more
Duplex
for
bit.
parking,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
because most fast food places are on 1 acre,
At least.
but they usually have too much parking.
Not at certain times of day. Love to have a nice restaurant.
So are we thinking in terms of permitted uses that are listed here? Anybody, if you want to take a look through both, there anything that's listed in permitted uses that you think should not be there? Or are there some things that off the top of your head you might want to suggest to Scott that he investigate further?
Not to interrupt, but for Cathos Pizza, their acreage is 0.200. Now that does include the parking lot.
Doesn't say the
It's
building.
really small.
It
Size.
doesn't say the
No.
I
So
measured, I
land use,
just,
oh yeah,
I just-
land use 430.
I just measured the building. It's 40 by 65.
For Casas,
Mhm.
40 by 60.
Or we just talk about 50 by 60 for
40
No,
by
is
60.
Is it really 40 by 65?
Just the footprint.
That's 2,600 square feet.
And I
That's
don't
pretty-
know
wow,
how
that's
that
bigger
is
than it.
for-
Than you think it
2,600.
is.
Yeah.
I
Goodness.
don't know how your measurements are actually worked out.
There's
on
quite a bit for the
comprehensive plan
kitchen.
of
Yeah, I
development.
guess you don't think, yeah.
You don't see that.
Acreage is 0.200, and then the land use is 430.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that would be the building.
Could also be.
Well, the
That's a
acreage would
code.
include,
There's-
yeah.
There's patio area.
I think.
Yeah.
It's outdoor.
And it
Is
may
that
be
the
more
auditor
than one
side? I
lot.
think 430 is probably the code for.
Yeah, it's a
use.
code.
Is it code for
to
you?
use
So I'm
codes.
like, I don't know.
Probably
Yeah,
needs
not
retail.
real comprehensive plan, needs one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the acre number.
I mean, I think the thing about the single family, the fact that it's in conditional uses is safe, because then an extra step of provable, extra hurdle they have to go over. Make sure it's appropriate. So even if they were merged, I don't think you'd have an issue with putting a single family dwelling in there, but I don't think anybody's gonna try to rezone just to somehow get around some other regulation. I think it's-
Yeah, that is one of the areas where they're a little different. In terms of apartments too.
Also, it's 488.
Well, those are the same, aren't they?
Yeah, okay, under a neighborhood office district, we've got listed as permitted use, offices of veterinarians. Would that allow a veterinarian to have an office and an outdoor run?
All veterinarians have to have that sort of thing. And that's listed as a permitted use in commercial too. Neighborhood commercial.
Listed in both.
It's in both.
I mean, it's just listed as a permitted use, yeah.
But it's in the C1 and C2.
I think the two thing, I mean, it's good that you brought that up, because two things that seem to come up, and you probably aren't as familiar with anybody as anybody, but veterinarians and landscape businesses. So have you struggled with what to do with landscapers before? I think.
We've got them all over the place now, so. yeah.
And they're probably gonna try to wedge themselves into a conditional use in FR1, I would imagine, because they're not building a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they're just allowed in AR1. As just allowed.
Do these require sewer or no? Is there C1 and C2?
They don't
No,
specifically say
okay.
that.
I've not read through
But there should be something in here about, you know. Well, any zoning change, if something changes to a C1 or 2, would have to go through Delaware County's water and sewer to get the allowed basis for where your septic's gonna be, and then your number
I feel like
secondary.
lot size needs to say adequate to provide the yard spaces and off-street parking, comma, and on-site treatment if
Yeah.
that's what they're gonna do.
If no sewer is available.
Or just waste treatment.
The 12 and 14. We're pretty much in agreement that we should look at combining those. Am I stating that correctly? Does anyone disagree with that?
That sounds right.
Scott, does that sound like something that,
Yeah, I mean, unless you think there's a place in the township where you would want, where you think someone would ask for and get approval for these office uses. But then if they turned around and said, you know, I'd really like a retail store there instead. I can see how that could be an issue with a neighbor. They might be like, well, I'm okay with although it's odd that it's veterinarians, because once you have a veterinarian, you might as well have a florist. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, but a veterinarian and a laundromat
Yeah,
or dry cleaning. is very different things.
yes. Maybe, I have no idea when this was developed, if it was part of the purpose, but maybe that's why they had neighborhood office districts as a separate. To keep some of those retail kinds of operations out.
Yeah.
If you got the zoning approved as C1, then you wouldn't be able to open a retail store.
Right.
But if we combine them, then we've eliminated that as an option.
Right.
If it gets approved, they could do an office, or they could do a retail store. So. Is that an argument against combining them then? That a good reason to not combine them, leave them separate?
I would think so. I mean, I would think that if you look at all of the things that are listed under that letter A under C2, I'm thinking the worst ones could be
You got businesses with drive-through
the
facilities.
laundromat.
No, businesses with drive-throughs are not considered permitted uses.
I'm sorry. Businesses
providing drive-through facilities.
or facilities which do not require the occupant to leave his or her car are not considered permitted uses. Sorry, I didn't finish the sentence.
So liquor store would be permitted use? As long as it didn't have a drive-up window?
Well,
And they could get a
it's a,
permit of the liquor
Right.
license.
It's a
They could get
retail
they could
store.
get
Well,
a
we've already-
license from the state.
We've already got those in the township.
I know, I'm just trying to think of. Not saying,
I mean, it's a drinking place where service is provided totally within a building, right?
Mhm.
right, or.
Well,
a
liquor
bar.
store,
Unless you want to add it to the prohibited uses. It seems,
Yeah, we can always add anything to prohibited uses.
Yeah.
and under permitted
really-
use, you can also put in parentheses, except for
Yeah, like we did with the drive-throughs.
buildings, yeah. Buddy,
although in terms of making things not confusing, shouldn't we just put that in a prohibited use? Like, why would you, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, is
yeah.
it confusing to stick it at the end of
I mean,
paragraph?
you
of
would want
prohibited
a
use?
restaurant to be able to serve alcohol of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just talking about like if
What about just a tavern? Like a straight out
Just a bar.
bar? That maybe serves bar food, but it's not a restaurant. Like that is, that's permitted. I think,
Now, I
Eating
can say, cause
and-
I've seen that there are new systems for food where they don't have to have a kitchen. They're literally like in-house fryers that sit on the counter and you don't have to have like your kitchen permits. So it makes it a lot easier to run a facility that just has bar food, essentially.
eating and drinking places where service is provided totally within. the
Totally
building.
within,
So you
yeah.
could have a tavern.
Yeah.
In the C2.
Yes, you could.
But if you, like we were saying before, you combine them and you're allowing where something would have been a vet office, would have allowed for a vet or just a dentist office, I guess. But medical.
Mhm.
C1 would be medical office, yeah, dentist also, chiropractors, podiatrists, whatever.
Yeah, they're also in
Yeah.
C2.
maybe
Yeah,
it-
those
Yeah, yeah,
listed
they'll
for
get it.
C2.
Right, right.
maybe it does make sense to keep them separate. Because they are very different.
Yeah, one
things.
one is almost entirely inclusive of the other. Anything you can do in C1, you can do in C2. All of the C1 things are included in C2.
which I
C2
think
just
is,
takes it that.
I think that's
further.
appropriate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Because if
just,
you're willing to say the opposite of what I said a second ago, if you're willing to accept something that's in this C2 list, then you would want
You'd want it.
C1 stuff to be in there.
yeah.
But you don't necessarily want the C2 stuff in
Yeah.
The C1, yeah,
C1.
you want to be able to
Well, and for,
limit, I think.
for the zoning, the zoning office and for the zoning commission, if someone comes in and asks to do something, as they want C2 zoning, and we may look at them and say, we don't really think C2 is appropriate for that location, but C1 would be okay.
Right.
Or if we eliminate C1, we don't have that
We
option.
have. the
Now,
right-
Yeah.
we've got, in both of them, we've got prohibited use of all the cultivators, processors and retail dispensaries of medical marijuana and so on.
Yeah.
Can't we just have an F with, no drinking facilities whose majority of income is,
Well,
we're,
I think.
Fracasso's could be considered to be a drinking place because they sell beer.
oh, yeah.
But is the majority of their income or sales or however they put it from food? Or is it
Probably.
from?
I mean, people go there primarily for the food, not to just, not go in there. to
Wednesday
just
night.
Have a beer,
Wednesdays are
but there's some that go in there for just a beer.
$5 pitchers.
I was gonna say, but they're discounted.
So-
So is it?
We also have carry out alcohol, so you have to
Yeah.
look at on sports nights or holidays, how many people that don't wanna drive to New Albany or Sunbury how many are going in and grabbing a case of beer and a pizza. So you gotta kind of leverage that too. Sorry, I'm on.
Yeah.
Over here, but it's something.
We like.
So this little
That's
store on the
something that I
corner,
would think.
Yeah.
of,
they
is
sell
like not
carry out
throwing
too,
away
right? The
Yeah.
little store in the
Oh, yeah.
corner.
Oh, yeah,
The market.
they both do, this one and the one over on Gorsuch.
Yeah, chalet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Chalet. It was Chalet Pizza. I'm not sure what they call it. Maybe it's just Chalet
I
now.
think it's still Chalet.
They
Pizza.
dropped pizza.
They serve pizza there, and subs and stuff.
They still serve pizza
Yeah,
there?
I've
Okay.
never had one. But
Their pizza is not pizza they make. They just take it out of the freezer and warm it
I
up.
think you might be right.
Yeah.
But since
I've
I'm-
never been.
since we're being recorded, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't know. I've never.
I've never
So-
bought one there, but
So I may be in favor of keeping these separate, just
In
so
favor.
that we have an option
Yeah, I-
of keeping, if we want to.
the more we talk about, it, the more that seems to be a better
Yeah.
approach.
That's why we talk about it.
Exactly.
I agree, there is a lot of overlap, but the C1 gives us one level of, and then C2 takes it further, and I like having that separate.
Yeah, and I
The
can,
ability-
I can see these things because of, especially along 605. That these potentially will be some, there may be some requests coming in the not too distant future for the zoning.
I might like to improve the development standards though, because a development plan isn't required. I would like to see development standards in terms of like screening in particular, in like setbacks. I would like to see things similar to maybe some of the other overlays that we have. Like I'm just looking at screening, for example, and some of it, all commercial and office areas shall be provided a screening of shrubbery or artificial fencing. Well, artificial fencing, I'm like, is that really what we want? Or, do we want to put something more concrete, like what we're looking for in terms of screening, like we have in the others? I'm just saying, like, some artificial fencing, okay, but maybe do you require a wood
Well-
fence, or is like, or are we saying is chain link with plastic on it appropriate? I don't know.
And that would be permitted.
When that would be permitted, is that what we want?
I mean, right now, the wording here is such, yeah.
Is such,
That's
yeah,
it.
but maybe we want to elevate it a little bit. To be,
I don't think that we would have any violations out there already, you know.
I don't know.
Anybody that has created a,
I think they're all using privacy fences now. You
Which,
know,
like-
the 6 foot, they are either wood or vinyl.
Yeah, which like that, I think that would be okay, but
Yeah,
I don't know, just.
that is kind of artificial fencing. If
I
you're
guess
using
you're right.
vinyl.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
well,
it is
artificial,
easier
it's
to clean
artificial.
But
fence.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of a funny phrase anyway,
What-
artificial.
Artificial.
What is that?
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
assumed it was vinyl, but
But is
Artificial
artificial
fence.
fencing wood fencing?
Electric fence?
I mean, it just seems like weird term, doesn't it?
So, I mean, but yeah, to that point, do we maybe wanna
Seems like if you take out the term
Refine.
artificial and it just says fencing,
fence?
Yeah,
shrubbery or fencing, so as to hide trash collection areas. I don't know why,
Yeah.
what artificial.
I just think the word artificial is,
Why is that? in
Yeah.
there?
I'm not sure why it's even there, but I don't disagree with what Brittany's saying. I think that's probably something that we ought to give some consideration to.
But should that be,
Improving
should
upon
that
it.
screening, is that like we did with signs? Is screening kind of a thing that we have that's a universal thing for all?
no, I don't think it
No.
is.
Okay,
We know.
I know it's not,
What
but
should it be?
are we, is that kind of what we're talking about, is having more universal screening standards?
Yeah,
I feel like that would be a nice, like, yeah, like you said, like signs that says refer to this article, and if it's not specified in one of the overlays otherwise, then yeah, we should have more screening standard requirements.
Scott, is that something you're seeing in other townships where they're, as you've been pulling apart the different articles and combining and rearranging, has that
I don't,
come up
well,
before?
I can't think of a place where screening has been better defined than just in a specific. And I don't know, I was just, through my head, I was thinking, or in my head, I was thinking of referencing one of the overlays, but that's probably not a good idea.
It'll be a lot
Or-
more, in the overlays, it's a lot more extensive.
I mean, or could we take some of the language
bad.
out of one of the overlays and make it more extensive? Like, do we want to have more buffers?
I just had it. It was a 36-inch. Which should say high, actually. 36-inch continuous planting hedge and tree combination, or a 36-inch decorative wall with fence in conjunction with landscaping, or a 36-inch decorative, 36-inch seems to be the,
That's too low to hide a trash container.
Yeah, I was gonna say like.
Well, that's
like
not,
here,
36
that's
inches
short.
isn't gonna hide a
No,
trash
A
receptacle.
dumpster, yeah.
No, a dumpster, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
well, this is specifically under parking lot screening. So the idea is to stop headlights but without blocking.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that 36 inches should catch the headlights, except on some of these trucks.
Yeah.
These pickup trucks.
But maybe something, we have something different around.
And what about we've got no minimum lot size is required. Is that kind of typical in other places too, Scott? This is in,
Well, we don't deal with a lot of these street districts, but I know there's gonna be continued pressure to at least have that, I think. We're seeing more users trying to do an individual site and they can't do a planned district because there's just 1 acre between other stuff.
Mhm.
So I don't want to say something that makes you think, well, let's just take out the straight districts altogether. But not having any minimum. Sometimes it goes back to there are people that don't know what they're doing and they may screw up and have a lot that's too small. Most places that are going to invest in a business are going to have some sense of what they're doing. And so they're going to know,
but yeah,
they have a business plan, they're taking out a loan. You'd think they would know, I'm going to need at least 3/4 of an acre to pull this off.
yeah.
So at some point, whoever initially wrote this didn't think that that was necessary to give a minimum lot size. Because even if you did, you'd want it to be fairly. You're not going to want an acre necessarily. But again, once they have to put waste treatment on their lot, which we were going to add that as a phrase, that
Yes.
they're going to need 1.5 acres probably.
Well, right now, of course, for residential, it's a minimum of 2 acres. So when it comes to commercial, these two areas right now, it says no minimum lot size. So should it be 2 acres?
No, for Casas doesn't meet that. Chalet doesn't meet that. The corner market doesn't meet that.
How does for?
Well, they wouldn't have to because if they've got zoning,
Yeah, you're referring to, can it be done? And you're referring to,
I'm talking,
should we set a standard moving forward?
yeah, moving forward, right? And it wouldn't necessarily, well, the ones that she cited, it wouldn't make them non-compliant because they can meet the standards under the criteria that we created when we created those new districts for the historical business district in Center Village. There, it doesn't say no minimum lot size. It's what did it establish, whatever's there. It works.
2/10, I think.
Historic Center Village Commercial District 16. I don't know if it even has something about lot size there. Let's see what we said.
So would you be thinking something like 2 acres without sewer, with sewer? No acreage?
Lot size in Center Village Business District that we created just says lot size shall be adequate to provide the side yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks, and off-street parking as herein required.
There's the practical part of that statement that, yes, you have to be able to put the parking in there, but then there's the reality is if they're gonna try to get a certificate of occupancy and a business permit, and if it's a restaurant, they're not gonna be able to, if it's a quarter acre lot, you know, let's say they maximize and they get all the available parking and they get all the building, expand as much building footprint, get as big a building as they can, meet all the parking setback requirements. If they can't get a septic permit from the health department, it doesn't happen.
Right.
The project doesn't, they're not gonna.
No, they can't do it.
It's not gonna work unless they put some sort of tank that they pump out, which I guess is a possibility, put a tank under and it costs prohibitive, I think.
Yeah.
But still,
For a small business. Yeah.
Well, I'm not
Exactly.
suggesting
So-
this, that language necessarily to use elsewhere. That's a possibility, yes, but that we put that kind of language in here and we actually, when we drafted this, created this, the whole purpose of creating it was to create a district for the area of Center Village,
Mhm.
that those properties could become compliant.
Yeah.
Because before we created this, all of them were non-conforming.
Mhm.
So, but this only applies to this very limited area of Center Village.
So expanding the lot size to include all these other extra things that they have to comply with seems like I don't think we need that. To add all those other things because they're not,
Well,
you have to have the right soil type, you have to have this, you have to have all these 15 other things that you have to comply with and unless you made a blanket statement that lot size is,
I don't know
must-
why they would, well,
must be
of course, when
sufficient
that
to-
would have
to
been,
meet
when that
all-
was written, it would have been 1 acre would have been the minimum. And now we're up to 2 acres for residential. And now, but when we're looking at commercial, we're saying no lot size requirement.
right.
I think
And my
somehow that,
my concern with that with not giving them a size is that they don't, I mean, it's not supposed to be a planned district. Seems like you could still require proof that they can have treatment on their site. I mean, how do you know they're gonna come to you and rezone it and then they're gonna figure all this stuff out? Cause they don't really have to show you a development plan. It's like,
no,
in a-
not for this, right?
it's like an AR1 to FR1. They don't have to prove to you that I know that comes up from time to time, right?
Mhm.
Where if they show you what the plan is, then you're stuck looking at the plan. If they don't show you what the plan is, then you're.
Stuck
It's
not
almost
knowing what
better.
they're doing.
It's almost better for them not to show you that they've already looked at where the septic fields are gonna go.
No, I think you were right, that we do need to add in there that besides these other things that we have adequate to provide for, we need to add in, on-site waste treatment if there's no sewers there.
Well, what if it says 2 acres? Unless. Whatever the verbiage is, I figured out. 2 acres unless proof can be shown that indicates. All these features can be met without. That
Okay,
is a thought. I'm not fully committed to that.
the lot size would be a minimum of 2 acres unless,
Supporting documentation can be provided that provides for on-site or septic, whatever, meets all health department requirements, parking, setbacks.
yeah. Lot size shall be adequate to provide. Do we want to list them? Side yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks, off-street parking? On-site septic?
Unless it's sewered.
Unless it's sewered.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Like in the event that it becomes sewer, then you could get a much smaller. lot
You
size.
get a lot smaller than 2 acres, absolutely, yeah. Will you work on that wording then, Scott?
Sure.
We decided, I think, let me see if I'm right in interpreting, the consensus now seems to be that we're gonna leave the two districts separate, continue to maintain C1 and C2. You see no objection, that's where we are, Scott. We're gonna keep them separate. And I would suggest, though, that you do take a look at this Article 37. Because they have some things in here, minimum tract size. To utilize shall be 25 acres, except a neighborhood business when located within an existing structure and directly fronting on State Route 605 may utilize this overlay with a minimum tract size of a half acre.
Hmm. That's too small. I think that's too small. Even if they have sewers, I think,
Well, but that's what's in here. I'm just.
Yeah.
That was one of the things.
that'll give us something
Like I
to
said,
look
when
at.
I did a quick scan of it, I thought, well, geez, this is something then, because we're dealing with C1 and C2, that Scott should be taking a look at this. And maybe, I don't know what the screening requirements are in here, but maybe there's some things in here with regard to screening that would be appropriate to consider.
Yeah, see, that conflicts with having a quarter acre and the sewage, this doesn't require sewer for this overlay to be. Like the other overlays that we've been talking about require sewer, this one doesn't.
It doesn't? I thought they were only doing overlays that were going to require.
This one says if central water and sewer are not available as determined by applicable, the township trustees may allow for limited uses to be developed using on-site water and sewer systems and or holding tanks when it's determined by the Delaware County Health
Yeah,
Department.
I'm out on that.
yeah.
I'm not entirely sure that the
That doesn't sound
That's
right.
just how it's
trustees
written.
could do that. I mean,
Yeah,
they probably want to, but that seems like a sewer district / health district decision.
Yeah.
Trustees could recommend it, I guess. But I'll make a mark to look at screening and not be too go overboard with too many standards and yet add a little bit to what's here. I mean, you don't want screening and mounding in a 50-foot setback, because then that messes up the whole idea of having, walkability. And the idea is that these aren't going to be scattered about, right? They're going to be
Yeah,
maybe closer to other development, I would assume.
One would think.
Maybe along areas where an overlay is next to it, but you don't have 25 acres, and so you're just going to do.
I'm not sure, but I'm anticipating that one of the reasons they put that exception in there for along State Route 605, and they also specified that within an existing structure, because we've got some of them along 605.
And are they on half an acre?
I know they're probably a larger lot than that.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they specified half acre. Maybe there's something out there that I'm not thinking of. But when we have that discussion with them, we can ask those questions.
Yes.
How they arrived at that. But
And
So
just
at
to
this
confirm,
point,
this
when-
looks like both, right? You gave me both.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, Scott, now there's, like I said, there's no expectation that you're necessarily reviewing these in detail. But any comments that you want to share with us regarding a review that you may do of them, or
Yeah,
how they
and
may, especially 37 may tie in with what we're doing with 12 and 14. But that's what we're looking
I
for.
told Mike on the phone too, that there are, I mean, a bunch of it's not a bad thing. A bunch of it's repetitive. So it's not like we're reviewing page after page after page. It's really uses and some of the standards.
Right.
As I went through the MU, the two MUs, and then the other, I guess, county line stuff.
Well,
I had them side by
and you just
side.
looked at 36, which I'm sure there's going to be some repetition from that.
Yeah. I just put them side by side and I was doing a quick check on how many things were similar. And there may be a future time in which maybe there could be an overlay section. If you're in these overlays, here's where you get your your light pole and your woodland setback.
It would have been nice to have planned that far ahead and do it that way in
Sometimes
the
you
first place,
can't.
but it didn't
So I
happen.
can see how you can't really do that sometimes.
Okay, so the next meeting, Scott, will be January 13th. Is that the right date? I have to go ahead and look. Yeah, it'll be January 13th.
Yeah, I already have that. I must have assumed that would be the day.
You have a conflict?
No,
No,
I put that
okay.
down already.
And we will also plan to have some discussion at that time about I think 37, but not 38. What do you think, folks? You agree?
That's fine.
Because 37 relates to 12 and 14, but it also allows us to start the process because we're going to find that there's going to be a lot of similarities, as Scott is just pointing out. If we look at 37, and when we do 38, we can do that one in February.
I mean, does talking about 37 take away from the time we have to focus on 12 and 14?
Well, I thought that's what you said earlier, though you wanted to do that.
Well, that was,
So there's still some discussion on what the rush is with this
Well, or
37.
what is it that we need to do on 12 and 14, other than maybe tweak the lot sizes and the screening?
yeah.
If we're not
we're not
combining-
gonna combine
We're not
them.
combining them. there's
We're
really
not
a lot
combining
here.
them.
Yeah,
Maybe just a touch up.
That's what we're looking to do, certainly with 12 and 14. Scott's going to bring a draft to
Yeah,
us.
maybe,
to review.
maybe clean up the lot size language,
Screening.
minimum lot size and the screening.
Oh, am I bringing that to you? Did I commit to doing that?
I don't know.
I was just putting little check marks on the two copies.
Well, you don't, I mean, if
Possible.
you can propose something, we can look at it. We won't be approving anything. We won't be ready to like sign off on something on the 13th. So.
No, that'll be our
whatever-
first review
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
draft.
Right.
So we would be giving you some feedback on what you bring to us.
He's not proposing to do a whole lot, so it might not take more than one review.
Let's hope.
Well, if the preference for from the commission is that we postpone any discussion and not have Holly or Megan plan to come to the meeting on the 13th, just have them wait and plan to come to the meeting in February, first meeting in February. Is that preferred?
I don't mind if moving forward with that map. That's an easy one that we can,
Well, this one
Work
we
that
could
one in?
probably move forward with and schedule a hearing on that one for February.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no discussion on that.
Right. You want to, well, you want to
But-
schedule a hearing now?
So we have to do an application or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Well, yeah, it would be an amendment to the zoning resolution.
If they can bring an updated map of this is the proposed map
Yeah.
that we want the whole
Now,
district to look like.
We
then
need
if they
that
can-
other map,
if
the
they can-
one that would show
What the
how
fi-
this fits
what the
in with the
final district
existing
would
one.
look
Yeah,
like.
'cause
This is-
that's the one that's going to get
That's what they're
revised.
proposing to change, but they're not telling us what the full
Right.
thing looks
This,
like.
this
So if
is
they can
the
bring that-
addition.
Yeah, that's right. If they can bring the full map on the 13th, we can say, yep, that looks good. Let's schedule a hearing.
Yeah.
And then the 37
37,
it doesn't really, I'm not all that super concerned about 37. 38 is kind of scary.
well, 37. The question then is, do we want to plan any discussion at all on the 13th relating to this? Because when they left, we were thinking in terms of doing this on the 6th. But we're not going to meet on the 6th. And doing it separate from the work that we're doing in revising the other articles in the existing resolution.
Well, I don't have any problem doing a walkthrough on 37 when on the 13th. We don't have any other, since
Mhm.
12 and 14 are abbreviated edits. We don't have a center village thing to chew on, like immediately.
Well, that's not, I don't know when that one's going to be forthcoming, but you
Exactly.
heard tonight what I heard.
Like we don't have anything imminent on that.
No,
Right.
there's, I don't know if they even
No-
have
There's
worked on a
nothing,
draft. for it
nothing
yet.
tangible, so we could take on 37. It probably won't be a huge lift.
Well, the initial discussion would not be for the purpose of scheduling, considering the scheduling of a hearing at that time.
Exactly.
We wouldn't do that until February,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would just be talking through that, talking through
talking through it.
page by page like we have on the
Mhm.
previous.
And shall I tell them to just plan on doing that with 37 and then we'll delay 38 until a later time?
Yeah.
That's everyone's preference, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll work through 12 and 14, whatever we have with Scott first.
Yeah.
And then,
And then deal with,
37, and if they have,
whatever.
Yeah.
time.
well, actually, we're going to deal with this one.
if they have a
Bring an updated map,
full map.
bring an updated map and then. we
Right.
can-
I will ask them to
Yeah.
really prepare that. And potentially, this could be something that we can even go ahead and move forward right away with.
we could
in
set
terms
the-
of
we-
scheduling a
We
hearing.
could schedule a
Yeah.
hearing for February.
Yeah. All right. And then 38, we're going to delay.
Yeah.
I will plan the agenda for that meeting in oh, well, we're going to have we have to schedule an organizational meeting too tonight.
All right.
Schedule an organizational meeting for the 13th at 7.
Yeah,
And then the regular meeting at 7, workshop meeting to start at 7:30.
Yep.
And on that agenda will be
Those two things. Those two
12,
things.
12 and 14, the overlay map
Yep.
and the new Article 37.
Yep.
To do a walkthrough.
The reorganization meeting, at 7 PM on January 13th.
That's the organizational meeting.
Yep.
yeah.
And the regular meeting.
And then the regular meeting will follow immediately. So that means we could get started before 7:30. Because we can usually walk through the organizational stuff pretty quick. But Scott, you can plan, if you can, then to come to the meeting and if you, like I said, I would expect that we'll probably go through that very quickly, so we might be able to start our regular workshop meeting at like 7:15. Okay,
Need to rework. I
here,
done one for you. So.
yeah, here,
have you got,
Oh,
yeah, I don't have, I can pull one up. You have one with you.
this is what we do.
Let's see if it's current. Let me look at it. or maybe you know, Joni.
It's the one we
This
got
one-
for this year.
This goes back to 98.
Yeah, but it's the one we got for this year.
Yeah, but we changed something, remember?
Just that way I'm ready for it.
I don't have it. I don't have it. I don't have an electronic copy of it.
Now I'll look at mine, the one that I have, that I don't have it with me. And if,
Can I keep this in a
you
copy?
keep
and
that one.
put-
It,
I'll
what,
put
the
original back
change
there
is
before.
minor if there is any between that document and what I have.
I'll scan this. now
What
and
you,
put the other
what you
one
should be able to
together.
find is the one that we did last year.
Yeah, I'll look on the computer. I just didn't have to like that.
That's what I mean. If you
Should
could just
actually be in
look
the minutes too.
for the meeting from last year,
No,
the
this year.
minutes would reflect, if we made any changes in the wording there, it'll show, that would show it, and then you can just make the changes on that one. That's all that has to happen. And if there's anything at all in the way of a change in what we did, it's very minor.
Okay.
I just remember that we did change something, but I can't remember the specifics.
Scott's got something else he wants.
Well, I realized I need to go, but I mean, did everything get the Galena area overlay? Did all that get passed on? Did our comments make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
The last comment, number 11, which was the one we actually recessed. Because we had questions, Holly was gonna look it up. She actually had that information. The question was about, do you want a 3-story apartment building, a row of 3-story apartment buildings? Kind of thing. And it's actually in the table.
It's in the table in the
That-
sense of identifies, yeah.
That a mixed use building can be 3 stories, but a
Single-use building is
can only be 2. But yes, all the other things, we did go through them. We appreciated your time and effort.
I noticed after the fact that there's a definition for stained glass, but there's no stained glass referenced anywhere in your code or the new one. So I don't know where that came from.
It's somewhere in there.
Yeah, we ended
I
up.
did a word search. I don't know.
I don't, was it called? It was called stained glass. Yeah.
It's called stained glass or
And they
colored
you guys
glass.
Change it to colored glass or colored something, because stained glass didn't pertain to film. Brittany had brought up that they could do like a film. I
But-
don't know, maybe
but-
under something
But
else.
you did a word search and stained glass and come up?
Did you?
Because they were supposed to very specifically add something about
Oh.
stained glass being permitted.
Maybe I had the version of the definitions, but not
Oh, see if I
the
can.
version of what you guys passed on.
I don't know. I
It says, hang on. The use of colored glass, colored film or reflective film is permitted on building exteriors, provided it is not the primary material and is subject to approval by the reviewing authorities.
so they never specifically said stained glass. Okay.
And use of colored glass.
Yeah, the question was, we're not gonna permit the use of colored glasses and films anywhere, and I pointed out that a lot of churches have lovely stained glass windows.
Yeah, and we,
They realize
the
that
definition for stained
that's not
glass
what they
is
had meant
is
to imply,
included.
but
When you guys also said like bathrooms, the bathrooms have like the fuzzy film. or
Frosted
whatever.
glass.
Yeah,
Frosted
frosted
glass
glass,
on the
yeah.
outside of the building.
We approved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you find all the definitions?
I didn't search through all of them.
okay.
No.
That one
Well,
caught my eye.
We used a lot of, we basically used all of the ones you
Oh,
supplied.
no, all of the ones that you provided, yeah.
But I think
But-
his point might be is we added a definition for stained glass, but then didn't use it in that.
That's okay though,
Because
right?
I think we changed the word from stained glass to colored glass.
Okay.
Which.
But if
Well,
somebody,
now we have a
to
definition of
have it
stained
if
glass.
we're not-
Ooh,
you know, a definition that
We'll find a way to use
we
it.
get a church being built.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not inappropriate to leave the definition in there.
Yes, I'm sure there's definitions of things that aren't
Yeah.
used.
At some point, there will be in the development plan, somebody may want to say, make reference to stained glass. And now we've got a definition for it, that it would be permitted.
Yeah.
It's not colored glass, it's stained glass.
Okay.
Okay,
Same here.
so you don't need I think I sent that to you, right? Yeah, okay. All right. I think we're finished for tonight. How about a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
What we said.
Moved by Brittany, seconded by Louis. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No one's anxious to stay here.
Thank you,
Have a
Scott.
very nice holiday, Scott. We'll see you January 13th.
Same to you.
Wow,
Happy New Year.
this is a long break for us.